Hola, everybody. Welcome to our channel. This is Our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion and Las Vegas Travel and More. We're simulcasting on both channels. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my host,
Janis Gillham Grady.
How you doing,
Aloha.
Janice? Aloha. Hola.
Hola.
Caribe.
Fantastico.
Exactly. Anyway, we want to welcome everybody to our channel for this live stream. Basically, hi, Mary Kay London. I see that you're here. Uh, anyway, it's just going to be a fun video. We're going to talk about a trip that we went on in 2019 when we were still legal to go to Cuba. We took a cruise to Cuba along with Grand Cayman and Haiti. And we're going to show you a bunch of the photographs from that and talk about going to Cuba, which is kind of a cool place to go to, someplace I'd always heard about in history and never been to. And then there were restrictions were put back on shortly after we finished our cruise. So we were lucky we got it in when we could. But
Yes.
yeah, Cuba is, of course, it's a communist country. But it was really interesting, Fidel Castro was no longer alive, but it was really interesting to learn about, the Cuban people. They were very friendly, and also about their lifestyle over there in the communist country. So anyway, Janice, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and I've even dressed in my Cuban dress. I got this when we were in Cuba. Paul got a Cuban shirt, and I got this dress.
Well, I'm in my Hawaiian. I'm representing Hawaii. You know what I mean? So we hang loose at that time. But anyway, also we're going to have an announcement at the end of the photographs and stuff. So stick around for that. It's going to be something that hopefully a lot of you are going to be interested in. And also, of course, we're going to do a live Q&A. So you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and we will get to those. Just write the word question. Of course, you can super chat, super sticker, whatever else it is that you want to do. But we wanted to just say hello to everybody. Hi, Donna Jenkins. We see you there. And, we'll get started with this video. We hope you all enjoy it. Anyway, Janice, why don't you talk about how, first, before I start showing the photos, about how this cruise all came together, because you organized it, right?
Yeah, I usually organize all the cruises. But, I'd gone to a lot of different places in the Caribbean on the Apollo, and I'd done the Alaskan cruise, and I do enjoy cruising. At first I didn't want to go on a cruise, and because I'd lived on a ship for 8 years, so why would I want to go cruise? But then Paul was like, come on, let's try it. And someone said, it's different. You get served. You're not the servant. You're not the slave. You can relax. So, okay, I'll go on the cruise. So we went on a cruise in the Caribbean as a family, and then it became like every week or 2 weeks. Every year or 2 years, we'd go on a cruise, or we'd go down to Dominican Republic or Hawaii, or something like that. So I found out that they had cruise ships now going to Cuba, and it's like, let's go to Cuba. And one of my friends, Liz, was like, I want to go to Cuba. So we kind of got together and put word out to different people saying, we're going to Cuba on this cruise. Anyone want to join us? And you have you've some photos of the group, and that's how it came about. And interestingly enough, when we used to sail to the Dominican Republic, the other half of that island is Haiti. And we never went to Haiti because it was so, our hubby just didn't want to go there. It was raw land. It was very bad economically. So, and I'd always wanted to go to Haiti. And this cruise actually also put us in Haiti. So that was fun to be able to hit Cuba and Haiti, because those are just like, I've managed to go to China and I've managed to go to Russia. So Cuba was my last one on the list of communist places I wanted to go visit.
That's right. And the thing about a cruise going to Cuba is that they had to take a smaller cruise ship because their ports are not built to take the big super cruisers. So basically, we went on this. It was Royal Caribbean, right? And it was one of their smaller ships, but it still was very comfortable. I mean, it had everything that you need, and it was kind of nice because it wasn't super duper crowded. And but anyway, so it was a lot of fun, and we cruised out of Miami. And I'll start showing pictures here. This is me on the deck overlooking the swimming pool on the cruise ship, and that's Miami in the background there. And that's where the gathering point was, where we all got together, and then we cruised overnight to Havana. And here we are coming out of the port of Miami. Now, one thing I wanted to mention to people is that at that time, 2019, we had just finished watching maybe a year or two before this great show on Stars called Black Sails, and it was all about the Pirates of
Yeah.
the Caribbean, the real Pirates of the Caribbean, in Nassau, and the Spanish, had their port was Havana in Cuba, and they came, to take out the pirates and stuff in Nassau, and it was a great show. So I was very much into like, oh, this is the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean, Havana, and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, it was real exciting to go there. So anyway, so that's where we went out. And then this is a photograph of our group that went. We all went together. Janis, why don't you mention the people in here that people might know?
Yeah, that's about 15 of us that went.
Yeah.
Let me start from the front left. That's Lisa Bybee, a great friend of mine. We've been good friends for, 18 years, I guess. Anyway, and behind her is Jesse, her husband. And Jesse, he was he did the service when Paul died. He did the memorial service for Paul. He was like his brother. They were very, very close. And then back to the front. So it's Lisa in pink and then Lizzie in the green. Lizzie's the one who got with me in Liz Gable House and Let's Go to Cuba. And then Joyce. Joyce I've known for many years. She used to be my stepfather's communicator back in the 80s. And then next to her is Spanky Taylor, who Spanky I've known since I was 17. She took me to my first rock concert. And next to Spanky is her sister. And behind Spanky is her cousin who came with her sister. And then the blonde, that's Tracy, who Tracy's always on our cruises with Michael Laws. The two of them are pretty much a given that they'll be on the next cruise or trip. And we just did Portugal and the Canaries and Morocco and Spain with Tracy and Michael. And then next to Michael, between Jesse and Michael, is me. And Paul's standing right behind me. And next to Paul on the left side of the picture is Roger Weller. And then with Michael Laws in the middle, in the red Hawaiian shirt, is Mark Fisher.
Yep.
And then behind Mark is Maureen Bolstead. We call her Little Mo because we have another friend that we call Mo. And then next to her is Tom Provenzano, who is also a cruising buddy of ours. He goes on all the cruises with us, and he lives here in Vegas. So
yeah. That was the Havana, the Cuba crew. So anyway, this is the next morning after leaving Miami, we are pulling into Havana. This is the port of Havana, Cuba, and that's kind of like the little gateway right here. And we got up early in the morning. The sun is rising as we pull into Havana, and this is the city skyline as you pull into Havana. Now, you're going to notice it's not as developed as American cities, and that's one of the things I'll talk about as we go through this thing here. But this is us pulling up. That's not our ship, but that's another cruise ship that's in there. And then they had to dock. These are old docks that are actually not refurbished at all. I'll show you the roofs here in a second. But we basically pulled up to it because they only have a few of the docks, ready, because they have not been able to have cruise ships come in. And that's one that's been renovated and refurbished as we're backing into our berth, right? And there's a ship there as we're that's the other ship that's next to us, right? And then there you can see these are the ones that are not renovated. They've been like that probably for 50, 60 years, since Cuba became communist and Castro took over. And you can tell they're just all dilapidated and nothing's happened to them. They don't have the money to fix them or anything. So anyway, and then here we are. Welcome to Cuba, right, Janis?
Yes. Welcome to Cuba. You know what surprised me in Cuba is the elegance of the homes built back in the 1950s, before the revolution. Right. They were just so magnificent and elegant, and high ceilings and chandeliers. And I should have given you my photos I'd taken of that, and then looking at how run down they are, those elegant houses have become from the revolution. That revolution didn't help the people. Their situation became very worse.
Yeah, and it's the funniest thing was for us, we went on an excursion that first day. Because here's the thing: to go to Cuba, there has to be a reason. This is when the U.S. would allow you to go to Cuba directly, right? There had to be some reason for you to go there. You were visiting your family, right? But one of them was you were going there for educational purposes. So you had to do an excursion. Remember that, Janice? So we had to take an
Yes.
excursion that would take us through some of the history of the area that we were in. So we go on this excursion. But one of the things that I remember about driving around the bus through Havana is that, all the buildings, of course, I talked to Paul about this, was they're all made from concrete, and it's because of hurricanes. That island gets hit. We never see the hurricanes when they are in the Caribbean and they wipe out, other islands. There's no TV news for us from Cuba. Cuba gets hit more than any because they're the largest island in the Caribbean, and they get hit all the time by so everything's built by concrete, and I hadn't even thought about that, right? But number two, they haven't had the money to refurbish anything, so they're all
No.
like really not that great. But the thing that really, really hit with me was that you didn't see any businesses with signs. You know what I mean? Like you drive down the street in any other city, you'll see like Joe's, hot dog stand, and here's Walgreens, drugstore and the supermarket. No, the streets were just had these businesses, but there was no signage. People knew where to go to get their food and to get their items, but there was nothing visible that you go like, oh yeah, there's the ice cream shop or the this or the that.
Right, exactly. Well, everything was government owned. There is
Right,
no, people don't own their own business and drive themselves to make money because they got to go, they got their rations card and they got to go to the same place and get the same rations.
right, right. And we talked to our tour guide too. I remember doing that. I'll mention that a little bit later on in here. And we asked him about his life because he'd been there his whole life and he had grown children and all that. So he told us a little bit about that. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and start. We'll carry on with this. And of course, this is us on the bus going on our excursion. I see Roger there, and there's Janice in the middle, and I think that's Paul.
That's
And then
Paul.
yeah. And then we got out and they took us down to the big revolutionary square. And of course, Cuba's famous for the old cars that they have from the 50s and 40s because they've not been able to get cars from the US. So they have these old cars, they paint them really fancy, and they have to basically make their own parts to repair them. But they're taxis, and they've got you're going to see a lot of photographs of these cars.
But where there isn't an American car, the cars that they do have and the buses are made in Russia and China.
China, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes.
Here we are. They dropped us off here, and then we walked over to the Revolutionary Square or whatever it's called. But they had all these taxis here waiting for, and they're beautiful. They're like little chiclets candies. You know what I mean? There's a pink one and a yellow one, and they're all convertibles, and they're beautiful. And the drivers are really proud of their cars, and you can take rides in them and stuff. And then this is where we're walking across over to that square, which is very famous in Cuba. The Pope has been there. They've had huge concerts and meetings there. And there we are. They're standing. There's Janice and Paul, and we're all standing there. It was very hot. I remember being out there in that square. That's the kind of their revolutionary tower or whatever it is. About the revolution. The communist revolution there. And then that's me in front of the tower. It's very tall. And then this is the building. That's Che Guevara on the side of the building, which is very famous. I don't know what the building is, but it's also in this revolutionary square. And then I think this is, I don't know who this is, if it's Lenin or
I don't remember.
who it was, but that's the other building that has somebody famous on there in communist times. I mean, it's basically tributes to the communists. But that plaza is huge. I mean, the people are way in the distance there, but they'll have big government, things there, just kind of like Red Square in Moscow, right, Janice? You've been to Red Square?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Anyway, and then we're back and there's more cars. They're really beautiful cars.
They are. They're not a dent on them. They were really very clean,
Yeah,
well kept.
yeah. And then the guy told us that the guys they can't buy parts from the U.S., so they basically
Yeah.
figure out how to fix things themselves and make replacement parts when need be. But they're just amazing. These beautiful
I
cars.
I think this is the only thing they actually own. Everything else is owned
Yeah,
by the government. They have pride in their ownership of these cars.
yeah. And it's just, I mean, literally, I'm showing you hardly any of these are repeat photos. There were lots of them, uh, you know. And there I'm standing in front of one of the cars. Then they took us to a cemetery, which has lots of artwork and statuary. And so I just took these photographs here. That's you can see that's somebody's, mausoleum or whatever. They've got all these statues around them. But they took us all around this cemetery, and this
But
is the church. Go ahead,
those
Jan.
statues of things are from the earlier days before the revolution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is the U.S. Embassy. They drove us down the road, which fronts the water. Havana is on the northwest corner of the island of Cuba, facing the United States, right? And so, anyway, but this was the embassy building, the U.S. Embassy, and it was shut down when we were there. And this is the embassy where, there was a story several years ago of embassy workers there getting really bad headaches, migraines and ringing in their ears that will not go away. And the thought is that Cuba or whatever had something that they were some microwave or something they were shooting through the building that's caused this condition for these embassy workers. But anyway, the building was shut down when we were there because it had been opened. But that's the U.S. Embassy building in Havana.
Yeah.
And then we went to a fort that basically it's an old fort that guards the harbor entrance to Havana. And this is the fort here. We were walking around here. And of course, it's cannonballs. And there's Havana right there. That's the port entrance. And then, of course, back in the 1700s, that fort protected the harbor from, enemy pirates and ships and things like that.
Yeah.
So we went.
Those walls are about 15 feet deep.
Oh yeah, they're really thick. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they took us to that's a statue of Jesus Christ overlooking the city of Havana. And he's kind of like the buddy Jesus, you know what I mean? It's like out of the movie, like this, it's like the friendly Jesus as opposed to other statues. But it's really tall. And that's looking from the statue towards the harbor. And that's our ship right there in the harbor. So you can see that it's not a big harbor, but it's very well protected from the open ocean.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that size ship. It's so much better than those huge things that they have now with thousands of passengers crowding
Yeah,
into a
yeah.
little city.
Yeah, and exactly like you can actually get around. It wasn't super crowded. There was a lot of fun things to do and stuff. But I remember talking to our guide about what his life like was, on in Cuba, and basically he was very said, "I'm very happy." He goes, "I have my own
Hmm.
apartment, which was like a condominium," and he said, "The government provides for us, and if we stay in it for X number of years, after a while, then it becomes ours. We get to keep it basically." And that his kids had both been educated and gone to university in Cuba. Of course, he was all Cuban educated. And he seemed very happy, but he said, I don't make a lot of money from, in comparison to what other people do in other places, but they take care of us. We got, and, we went to a market. I remember an indoor market, and you see they had stalls where you could buy souvenirs and things like that. But, that's how the people were there in Havana. So, anyway. I'll show you some more pictures here. Again, that's overlooking the city of Havana. You can tell it's kind of pretty bleak looking. And then this is when we went to the next port. What we did was we cruised around the island towards the south. We went from the northwest corner. We had to go all the way around. It was a full day at sea to get to our next port. So we were at sea the whole time. And then we got to this port, I think it's called Santo Fuego. I can't remember the name. And then there was a third port that we were supposed to go to, but it was closed down. We couldn't go in there because for some reason the ship would not be able to go there. So instead of that third port, they sent us to Grand Cayman, to the Cayman Islands, and I'll show you some pictures from that. But we
Yeah.
went into the second port here, and again, this one we didn't go on. That's when we were the day at sea. That's Roger Weller and myself at sea. And of course, there's Paul and Janis in the dining room. We had a lot of fun having
Yeah.
great meals there, you know. And this is when we're coming into that second port, and that's a hotel that was built right before the revolution, so it's the only hotel really around there. And then Tom and I and everybody, we all hit the shore, and we decided we just wanted to go off on our own. So we rented one of these taxis and had the guy drive us around while we were on the ground. So this was the car that we rented, and that's Tom in the back seat and me in the front seat. And then that's our ship. When we were aground, literally it was anchored because you couldn't dock it; it was too big. And then they had transport vehicles that took us in, like ferries that took us into the,
Right.
harbor. And that's our ship. That was it's a smaller cruise ship, but it's a Royal Caribbean cruise line. It was plenty big enough, that's for sure. And then Tom and I went. He took us to this place where the guy made us pina. I wanted a pina colada from scratch, and Tom had a Cuban beer. So this guy, he squeezed the pineapple juice. He got the coconut juice and all that, and he made me this pina colada. I want to tell you, it's the best pina colada I've ever had in my life.
I bet.
See
I
me there?
bet.
Yeah, with the Cuban rum, and all that, and it was
Yeah.
delicious. And so we sat there and had a drink, relaxing. It was hot. It was a little bit overcast, but it was hot. And then Janice, these are pictures you took. Where was this?
Yeah, Paul and I went off and did another tour, and it just fascinated me to see the butcher shop sitting there with the meat just hanging like that in the window, and nothing protecting it from flies or anything. And this gentleman went and checked out the meat, bought it, and they didn't even wrap it or anything. And he's walking down the street with the meat hanging beside him. And I'm watching as he then puts it in the trunk of his car with just nothing down there. He just puts it in the trunk of his car. And it had rained. And so then he washes his hands in a puddle on the side of the road, gets in the car and drives off. I'm like, wow.
Is this him here?
Yeah, that's him walking down the street, just hanging on to the unwrapped meat to put it in the trunk of his car.
It looks like fish. Is it meat or fish?
No, it's meat. It's a leg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then this was the local garbage man going around collecting garbage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and then we went to the city center there, Tom and I, and this is like the government building with a big park in the front of it. And then, of course, Tom wanted to buy some Cuban cigars, so we went to a cigar shop there. And you're allowed to buy some and bring them back into the United States. So he did. He bought some cigars, some Cuban cigars, and that was nice. And then this was a Cuban restaurant. It looks like a house, but it was a restaurant. We were walking on down the side street, and it started to rain. So we went in there, and we went down, and Tom smoked one of his cigars. And then this guy was our bartender and had some Cuban rum. And then we had Cuban food there at this really nice, it was like a home with a restaurant in it. And it was a wonderful meal, and it was really cool. This was much more of a laid back, I actually, and Havana's a big city, of course, right? But this one, I thought the people were friendlier. It was easier to get around and all that because it was not as big of a city.
Yeah, the south side of the island. Yes.
Right. And then this is leaving. This is the homes as we pulled out of port that night. We were out on the deck, and I took these photographs here. And then this is a picture just as we're pulling out. That building in the distance there is an unfinished nuclear power plant that the Soviet Union was building in Cuba, for them to have power when in 1990 or whatever, the Soviet Union was overthrown and Cuba didn't have the money to pay for it. So it's just sitting there, incomplete. They never had a nuclear reactor or anything like that, but that's a leftover from the Soviet Union days and communist Russia and that type of thing. I just thought that was pretty interesting, so I took that photograph there. Hey, listen, everybody, I wanted to mention we're broadcasting on both channels, our channel Peeling the Onion and also my channel Las Vegas Travel and More. And if you would, please, we'd appreciate it if you subscribe to both channels, right? But my channel, Las Vegas Travel and More, is basically all about travel, different places that we go to, and things about Las Vegas and stuff like that. So I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. You just go to that address there and you can click on it and subscribe. I'm only 9 subscribers away from 600. I'm 591 subscribers. I'd obviously want to get to 1,000 at some point, but if I could get 9 more subscribers today, that would be awesome. I'd hit 600, so I'd really appreciate it. But anyway, you can watch on either channel, and if you've got 2 windows on your computer, you can watch on Peeling the Onion as well as on Las Vegas Travel and More. We would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so then we'll carry on here. So this is on our way to the Cayman Islands, and this is when we were going ashore, and that's Tom and Janis on the, what do they call them? It's like a transport boat.
It's a launch. It's a launch.
Launch or a tender or something like that to take us ashore. Okay. And then this is on the Cayman Islands. Now, we all kind of went our separate ways. I remember, Janis, we got in the city center, and then we heard, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? It'll, you know. So anyway, I ended up going with Maureen Bolstead, and we took a tour of the island. We paid this guy, which was ridiculous, because we then had to wait like almost an hour and a half for him to get other people to come along. He kept saying, "Oh, we're going in 5 minutes. We're going in 5 minutes." Yeah, it was a bunch of BS. But anyway, go ahead.
There was not a lot to do in the Caymans. I'd been there before. I'd gone to hell and back, and I'd gone to the turtle farm and stuff like that. So I just kind of, Paul and I wandered looking for jewelry and rum cake.
Well, we got around to this different rum cake and all that sort of stuff. But this is Maureen and I. We went around the island, and this is up there. It was kind of cool. And then in the Cayman Islands, they have an actual town called Hell. Okay, and so you can send a postcard from Hell. So this is the post office, which is Hell on the Cayman Islands. And you buy a postcard. You've done it before, right, Janis? You buy a postcard.
Yes, you buy. Yeah, and you mail off postcards to all your friends from Hell.
That's right. And of course, and the reason it's called Hell is because of these rock formation behind it. And that's me being the devil in hell.
Okay.
Rock on. And of course, had to have a red stripe. I love red stripe down in the Caribbean. Their beer is really good. And then the water was beautiful, heading back out to our ship. And then this is approaching the ship. It was anchored out there, and just really beautiful as you come up to the cruise ship. Anyway, so that was basically the Cayman Islands. And anyway, we were there just briefly, like literally it was like half a day, if I remember, because we had to get back on the tender because the winds were picking up and they wanted us to get off the island. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, the storms, well, as you point out, the storms can get pretty bad in Cuba, so it's best to get away from the land as fast as possible.
Yeah. Okay, and then this is the next place that we went to. This was Haiti. It was Labadee, Haiti, and it's in the northwest tip of Haiti. Now, this is not Port-au-Prince. This is not where the earthquake was and the devastation and all that. Labadee is apparently, it's a port island or whatever that's owned by the cruise lines. And so when you get there, I mean, they've got beaches and all these facilities and things like that. In the Caribbean, a lot of the cruise lines, they'll buy islands or places where they can have their little resorts that they can take people to whenever the cruise ship pulls up. So this was Labadee in Haiti, and took that picture there. That's our ship behind there. And of course, there's Janis and I on a little tram thing. I forget why we were on that tram, but it took us around the island a little bit. But on that one, we just basically did like a beach thing. We rented like a little cabana, and then it was really nice water, and we hung out there at the beach. There's Janis and I.
Yep. Yeah, it was a nice beach day.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was really nice. and beautiful beach. There was lots of activities. That's the floating base, not a floating dock, but that's the dock that they built for the cruise ships. And so you walk all the way out there, and then the ship is right there. It was pretty amazing. We watched them dock there, and then when they left and stuff, and we basically spent the day there in Haiti. So we didn't get any real Haitian culture or anything like that. It was just basically a day at the beach in Haiti.
Well, no, they had that whole shops area just full of the Haitians selling all their
Oh, did
different
that? That's
wear and
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
their artwork. Because Paul and I actually hanging on my pool area, we picked up one of those metal art pieces, and it's got palm trees made of metal and painted all sorts of bright colors. Because I remember carrying that back on the airplane; it wouldn't fit in our suitcases. And the whole idea is when we built our swimming pool, it was going to go up on the wall, and that's where it now sits.
Okay. And then here's back on the ship. And then Janice, go ahead. That's of course
That's
you and
Lisa
Paul.
and Jesse. Yeah, Paul and I with Lisa and Jesse.
Yeah. And we kind of
And
shifted around tables, different people,
yeah,
Janice, Paul, me, and Tom all had a table, but then there was always two extra seats, and so people would rotate around, and it was great, having meals together and talking and stuff. And I,
yeah.
now this was the cruise where Paul didn't he get sick, or was that on another cruise where he was in his cabin all day? I think it was on
That
the
was
other
a
cruise
different.
that we were
It
on.
was on a different cruise. Yeah,
Right, right, right. But Maureen got sick. I remember that. Maureen Bolstead. She had a hard time, and she had been
yeah.
sick.
Yep. I remember Lizzie having to bring her food and caring for her.
Yeah. And that's of course Janice and me and our friend Tom Provenzano, who lives here in Las Vegas. He's right now freezing up in Idaho.
Yeah.
We're saying that we're cold here in Las Vegas. It's only 40 degrees. Well, we have a friend Camilla who's up in Montana, and she showed a photo. It's minus 42 in Montana where she's at. And Tom and his girlfriend Sita, they're in Idaho, and it's like 11 degrees. So I'm like, well, why would you go there this time of year? You know what I mean? Better off going
Yeah.
on a cruise down in Miami.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and then they have shows every night, and the shows are fantastic on the ships. I mean, they have magicians and comedians and acrobats and dancers and singers, and that's you and Paul, and we were all there watching the show that night, and it's all included with the cruise, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right. And then,
It's always enjoyable going to the shows.
yep. Then when we got back to Miami, we went up to Boca Raton, right, to visit our friends Jill and Carrie Gleason, correct?
Yes. Yes. And this is a picture of from left to right, me, and then Paul behind me, and then Jill Gleason, and then Spanky, and then Brooke and Mackenzie. Brooke and Mackenzie are Jill and Carrie's two of their three daughters. The other one was on the West Coast, so she wasn't there.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm
And then,
actually going at the end of this month, I'm actually going to Florida to see Jill and Brooke and Mackenzie because Carrie passed away in October, and I'm going to his celebration of life, and Spanky's going with me, and we'll be there for his celebration of life in early February. But I'll be going to Florida in the end of January, and I'm going to drop into Clearwater and Tampa and see some friends down there and check out downtown Clearwater and even have dinner in downtown Clearwater to try and help some of the non-Scientology businesses there.
are you going to the Hourglass or the Lemon Tree, or?
They won't let me in.
I don't think so. But it was
No,
great seeing Jill. Go ahead.
yeah, they'll see me coming down the street and all the doors are going to be locked and the hurricane shutter's going to be closed.
Invasion. Anyway, it was great to see Carrie. Well, Carrie actually wasn't there. He actually was in the UK, but he called in when we were
Yeah.
there. So it was great to see Jill
That's right.
and their daughters. And then we took these photos in the back. That's a selfie. I think Janice is the camera person on that.
I'm failing to. Paul finally took it over from me.
And then there's the other. There's the one where Paul took it over, and that's
Yeah.
a photograph of Paul, Janice, Jill,
That was
Frankie, and
that
me.
was so he could That was so he could finally get in the front of the photo rather than always being in the back.
That's right. And of course, we miss Paul. It's been a couple of years now that he's been gone. But anyway, so that was our trip to Cuba, the Cayman Islands, and to Haiti. And I got to say, going to Cuba was very um, instructional. You know what I mean? I learned quite a lot about it. It's like anytime when you travel overseas. This has been in my experience traveling as a world traveler. In my later life, people are the same no matter where you go, or they're friendly. You know what I mean? Like we were
Yeah.
always indoctrinated into that they were wogs, they were, the enemy. If you were either in Scientology or you were against us, right? But every place I go, I find it very interesting. Everybody's culture is different. Everybody's way of life is different. But you know what? Deep down inside, they're happy to see
They're all
you.
the
They're friendly. They've got good manners. You treat them right. They treat you right. And it
yeah.
was the same way in Cuba. What do you think, Janice?
I absolutely agree. And I found the same thing. Like, as I said, I'd gone to China and I'd gone to Russia. I've gone to Cuba. I've gone to other places as well, that aren't communistic. But the people, they're the same and they just want to make other people happy. And they mean well and they go out of their way to try and help you.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, we have an announcement that we're going to make here in just a minute, but I just want to tell you we're going to answer any questions or comments. If you've got anything, please get in the chat right now and just write, question, comment, or whatever, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. And I just wanted to mention what we've been talking about. We've been planning a cruise that's coming up. We're going to be doing that out of Long Beach, California here in March. And the dates, hold on one second here. I'm going to take a look at this information here. We are planning a cruise, and you all are welcome to join us. That's the reason I'm mentioning this. Okay, it's on Carnival Cruise Line. It's the Carnival Radiance. It's going to be a 3-day cruise to Ensenada, Mexico, from Long Beach, California, and it's going to be departing Friday, February 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific time from Long Beach, and it returns Monday morning, March 11th, to Long Beach at 7 a.m. So it's basically a 3-day cruise, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you're back Monday. So it's like a 3-day weekend. It's not a long cruise or anything like that. And the only documents required is if you have a passport, of course, you need that. But if you don't have a passport, they said just a copy of a state issued birth certificate and a photo ID, a valid photo ID from driver's license or whatever you've got if you don't have a passport. So not having a passport does not have to limit people from coming. Okay. And it's just going to be a 3-day cruise. We'll spend Saturday out at sea, having fun, talking, drinking, eating, right? And then Sunday is in Ensenada, and we'll go into Ensenada and have fun in Ensenada. And then we're back Sunday night. We cruise back to Long Beach, and we're there, first thing Monday morning, and we go from Long Beach back home. But I just wanted to mention that we decided to do this. It's not expensive, okay? And basically, like I'll give you an idea for a cabin, okay? For an interior cabin, which is the cheapest, that's the least expensive, an interior cabin. If you're going to be one person and you want the cabin all to yourself, the whole trip, including your cabin and your food and your port taxes and fees, is $696. But if you share the room, 2 people, then it's $400 each. Okay, so basically it's $800 for the 2 or $400 each. If you want an ocean view cabin, a single room, 1 person is $816. But if you want to share the room with 2 people, it's $437 each. So for a married couple, it would be $437 times 2, or if it's 2 single people they want to share. And they have twin beds if you want to share with somebody else who's single. Okay, and depending on how many people decide that they would like to go, we can negotiate with the cruise line to try and get the prices down as sort of a group rate. Okay. So if you are interested, we're leaving here like in a month and a half, but we need to know soon. But please, you can email me at messengerondutymf@gmail.com. That's messengerondutymf@gmail.com. Now, just so you know, Janice and I are going. We've got a couple other channel creators we've reached out to, one of whom and his wife have confirmed that they want to go as well. And so you're going to be able to meet and greet with different people. And there's no planned agenda. It's really just sit around, chew the fat, have fun, and talk to each other. And they'll also be friends of Janice's and of mine who are former Scientologists and former Sea Org members, and then just regular people too. So anyway, if you're interested, let us know. We'd like to get 15 to 20 people together to go on this cruise and just have a good old time. So just email us at messengerondutymf@gmail.com, and I will get back to you with further details, and we can go from there. Okay.
Right. And this aligns with my whole theme of 2024 being the year of connection. Doesn't matter if you're in Scientology, not in Scientology, just have fun and connect up with friends and family. And bring family. If you're all from different places, all of you can connect up there on a little cruise. And Carnival's not top of the line or anything fancy, but the whole point here is connection and to have fun. And it's not about status or anything like that. We just want to have fun and meet up with people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you'll have fun. And we wanted to do it so it was cost effective, so that it wasn't super expensive for people, and but still could come and have a good time. So anyway, if you're interested, like I said, email me at messengerondutymf@gmail.com, and I can get you the more details, and we'll contact the travel agent once we know how many people are interested, and we'll see if we can get a better price on it. Okay.
And just so you know, this is not the same as the other. There is another cruise being worked on for September out of Miami. This is not the same. This one's out of Los Angeles. So more West Coast people can do this one, where more East Coast would probably do the Miami one. So, and one's 5 days and one's 3 days. So they're different cruises.
Exactly right. Okay. Do we have any comments, any questions? I start a couple of comments, but if you guys have questions, go ahead and get into the chat. And I'll start with this one here is from Love Food Kitchen. Hey, it's nice to have you here again watching. I wonder whether, aside from the obvious of Scientology and working together afterwards, the love of travel and seeing the world is one thing that has created a strong bond and friendship between the two of you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And mutual survival too.
Yeah. But yeah, I grew up from the age of 11 traveling, so I don't have a back off or a fear. I enjoy traveling and seeing the world and meeting people, because every place is different. So that's what I enjoy, going to different places, having different experiences.
Yeah, and it's my passion now. I have not been able to travel much at all over the last 4 years with COVID and other factors and all that. But I do. I love going overseas, and it's a lot of fun. That's why I have the travel channel, Las Vegas Travel and More. I want to dedicate it to travel and having fun, because that's what life's about. It's about having fun, experiencing life with other people, with your family and friends. And, that's what's important. You know what I mean? Not all the fighting and not all the other crap that goes on in the world. It's like really having a connection with your fellow human beings. And that's what I love about that. Anyway, and then this is a comment from E. Moore. The architecture is left over from Cuban tobacco cigar import days. Yeah, I agree with you. You know what I mean? Because tobacco and Cuban cigars were one of their main exports, along with sugar and rum. Those were the three things that Cuba is known for. So that
nothing
set up with that.
Nothing like the rum cake.
Yeah, they're good. I remember getting really good rum cakes in Nassau, and I actually shipped some back here. They're really good. If you've ever had rum cakes or whatever, they're very, very nice. Anyway, I don't see anything else. Janice, do you see anything, any other comments or questions here?
No, but I do just want to say again that I'm going to be in the Clearwater area at the end of January, and then down in Fort Lauderdale early February. But anyone wanting to connect up with me, let me know. Sorry. You can email me at Janis Gillham Grady gmail.com, and we can organize up something. But I think it's the last Saturday of January is where I plan to have dinner at downtown Clearwater, and people can come down and we can wander Cleveland and Fort Harrison and watch, all the shutters close up as we come by, or the streets empty. Well, the streets are already empty, so not much we can do about that. But anyway, people are welcome to come see me. And if you want any books autographed, bring your books and I'll sign those.
Right. And there's your email address there, Janis Gillham Grady at gmail.com, where people can contact you and let you know if they're going to be around through that. Also, we want to let you know, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We really appreciate your loyalty and watching our content on both channels, Peeling the Onion as well as Las Vegas Travel and More. So we appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, please ask in the comment section. Of course, we check those on a routine basis. And also, if you're interested in any of our merchandise like Janis's book, you can get signed copies of her book, hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, you name it. Just go to our merch store. There's a link there down below. And finally, if you'd like to donate to our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the sorry about that. Why does it keep doing that? There we go. Buy us a copy. There's a link down below in the description. Click on that, and we appreciate any support that you might be willing to give to us. So anyway, we wanted to say thank you very much for that. Anyway, is there anything else, Janis, you want to say before we end this video? We really appreciate y'all watching.
Yes, we do appreciate you watching, and seriously think about joining us and connecting up on our little cruise in March 8 to March 11, I believe it is.
Absolutely. Anyway, I'm going to outro this with the intro video because a lot of you weren't here, but I really wanted you to take a look at this and hear the Cuban music that I have. And this is called Cuban Sandwich. Anyway, until the next time, everybody, bye-bye.